Today I'm going to be ranking female killers in horror movies because I have nothing better to do.
There's no way a girl could have killed him.
That is so sexist. The killer could easily be female. Basic instinct.
So I have named 5 different tiers to help me categorize these girls. My bottom tier is please stay away from me. And this is pretty self-explanatory. Either this person is just absolutely batshit insane with little to no redeeming qualities, or their character just generally irritates me, or they scare me so bad and make my little knobbly knees shake and quiver and I would never want to cross paths with them. The second to bottom tier is was there any need? And this is for the characters who seem to have no real reasoning that justifies their actions, or whose reasoning seems lacking, and it just feels a bit like, what was all that for then? What's all this then? I don't know why I'm making fun of a British accent, I am British.
How can a fucking sausage be upside down, you stupid little cunt?
And I do want to add that I think that a character who is an insane killer with seemingly no reason for what they do can be done really well, because the suspense of, why are they doing this? What's the point? Can be utilised to make them appear more threatening, because there quite literally is no reason. They just chose to start killing people one day because they simply wanted to. And perhaps being a natural born killer with an innate inclination and thirst for violence and death is scarier than someone who had something traumatic happen to them that drove them to become a killer.
Oogly moogly, bitch!
However, that is not the case for this tier. Most of these characters seem to have weak motives, in my opinion, en mi opinion. The middle tier is, she scares me, but I like it. I kind of like it.
I don't know what's going on here, but I think I like it.
This is for characters that are intimidating and more than capable of destruction, but more often than not I feel it's justified in some way, or I just think they slay so hard and I can't even be mad at them. The second to top tier is good for her. Just as it says, these characters have usually been beaten down and or been taken advantage of their whole lives, and regardless of whether their murders were justified, I feel as if they've earned it in some way and I'm rooting for them. Finally, the top tier is I'd let her kill me too. Honestly, everyone on this tier is there because I'm incredibly attracted to them and would thank them as they tore my last breath from my body. Anyway, let's see which characters we have, shall we? So, we have Carrie White, all 3 versions. We have Pamela Voorhees from Friday the 13th. We have Annie Wilkes from Misery. We have Miss Ava Ernst, how you say, como se dice, Miss Ava Ernst from The Witches. We have Tiffany Valentine from Bride of Chucky. We have Asami Yamazaki from Audition. We have Mae Dove Kennedy from May. We have Vera Ellen Baby Firefly from House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects and 3 from Hell. We have Hayley Stark from Hard Candy, Jennifer Hills from I Spit on Your Grave, Esther from Orphan, Rose the Hat from Doctor Sleep, Rachel Lang from The Rage Carry 2, Sue Ann Ellington from Ma, Pearl from X and Pearl, Amanda Young from Saw, Justine from Raw, Sadako Yamamura from Ringu, or Samara Morgan from The Ring, Mary Mason from American Mary, Kayako Saiki from Ju-On the Grudge, Jennifer Czech from Jennifer's Body, Lola Stone from The Loved Ones, and Elaine Parks from The Love Witch. And before I begin, I want to say this will include major spoilers for all the movies that these characters are in, so if you haven't seen all of them or just don't want to hear any spoilers, click away now. Carrie White. If I had an abusive, insane, puritanical mother who would lock me in a closet to pray anytime she thought I had done something wrong, and who also did not teach me what a menstrual cycle was, leading to me being ridiculed whilst naked in a locker room by a bunch of teenage girls, one of which poured pig's blood on me after rigging the votes for prom queen and having the best night of my life just for it to be torn away from me in an instant, I would burn down an entire school too. Good for you, Carrie White.
So good for you, girl. Go on.
Mrs. Voorhees. I am somewhat conflicted on where to place Mrs. Pamela Voorhees. On one hand, she endured horrible abuse from her husband, and when she was pregnant with Jason, she began to hear voices inside her head who she wholeheartedly believed was Jason, telling her to kill her husband, which she did, or at least according to the comic miniseries Friday the 13th, Pamela's Tale, which shows her backstory. And when Jason died at 11 years old due to the negligence of the camp counsellors, she spiraled into insanity, which eventually drove her to murder.
Somebody help me! Somebody help me!
But on the other hand, she did kill innocent people who had nothing to do with her son's murder, so it wasn't entirely justified. And for that, I think I want to put her in the please stay away from me tier, because she's just so dangerous and unhinged.
Not today, old lady! Not today!
Annie Wilkes. Speaking as an insane fangirl myself, there is nothing scarier than an insane fangirl. I do kind of want to say she's just like me when I get my hands on Brian Fuller, who created NBC's Hannibal, and force him to write a script for just a tiny taste of what life is like for Will and Hannibal after season 3. But I don't feel like getting arrested.
Police officer.
Yeah. Okay.
And I also don't like people in my house.
Get out! Get out!
Having people around for dinner drains my social battery within minutes, so having to host a sleepover for like 6 months seems exhausting, especially a non-consensual sleepover. I've never liked anything or anyone enough to warrant holding someone hostage. Stay far, far away from me, Annie Wilkes. You're going in the bottom tier. Miss Ava Ernst. The character design for this kids movie was fucking terrifying, and that's why I've included her in this horror list. However, before her transformation, she looked so Gorgina George and elegant and luxurious, and I've always loved the witch hiding in plain sight thing, and I also don't like children. So I see where she's coming from. She's going in, she scares me, but I like it. That was a joke, by the way. I don't dislike children, I just become very overwhelmed easily. Tiffany Valentine. Jennifer motherfucking Tilly. God bless the dinosaur that died to make the fossil fuel that was created to become the petrol in the car that took your mother to the hospital to give birth to you. What a woman. I mean, honestly, she has not left my mind since this movie came out in 1998 and I was born in the 2000s, so do with that information what you will. Also, her in the 1996 movie Bound.
Do I make you nervous, Corky?
Auga! I'm panting like a dog and my tongue is rolling out of my mouth and onto the carpet and my eyes are bulging out of my skull and I'm floating towards her like I smell a pie on her windowsill. Obviously, her performance in this movie was also great and I love her character, but she could have literally just sat in front of the screen and done nothing for 90 minutes and I would have clapped and cheered. I love her and I have nothing more to say. I hope you understand. Asami Yamazaki. Okay. Yes, she's kind of freaky. What the frick are you talking about? With the guy eating her vomit from a bowl and cutting off that man's leg with a wire whilst he's awake. Consider my timbers shivered. No, but seriously, she's so scary. Her backstory is devastating. It just makes me feel so bad for her and I can totally see why it drove her to insanity, so I'm gonna just leave that one there with she scares me, but I like it, I guess. May Dove Kennedy. She is just like me for real and you cannot tell me otherwise. Listen, I know she is insane, I know that, but I get it, I do understand her reasoning behind why she killed all those people, like her whole monologue about...
You know how when you meet someone and you think you like them, but then the more you talk to them you see parts you don't like, and sometimes you don't end up liking any parts at all.
I completely get that. This poor girl had spent her whole life as an outcast with her only friend being a doll, which I'm getting tattooed very soon and I'm very excited for that. Of course she's going to end up a little strange, and everyone was horrible to her. Also, she's a fellow lazy eye girl.
Use both your eyes.
So, I love her so much, I feel connected to her. Weird Girls We Ride at Dawn. The 90s and the early 2000s was such a great time for weird horror movies and I miss that era. Anyway, good for her. Baby Firefly. I'm gonna be honest, the main reason I'm putting Baby in the bottom tier is because she annoys the fuck out of me. I know she's meant to be irritating, like that's the whole point of her character, but I find Rob Zombie's Firefly trilogy really difficult to watch because of that, which is a real shame because I know how much of a cult classic House of a Thousand Corpses is, so please stay away from me. Hayley Stark. Before I talk about this one, I just want to say I know that the actor who played Hayley is a trans man. I love Elliot Page, but obviously before he transitioned he was playing female characters, so I'm not being, I'm not a transphobic freak. Anyway, the level of intelligence, calculation and determination that this child had is simply unmatched. Was it cruel what she did to that man? Perhaps, but considering what he had done and who he was, wouldn't you want to do the same? When it comes to those sorts of people, I have no room in my body for sympathy or pity. I feel like I have a lot of love for revenge movies because we don't often see the justice that victims deserve in real life, and so these movies are like a sweet little taste of that fantasy. So, good for her. Also, one of my favourite lines comes from this movie.
I don't know, that's that whole nature versus nurture question, isn't it? Was I born a cute, vindictive little bitch, or does society make me that way?
Jennifer Hills. And speaking of revenge movies, the I Spit on Your Grave movies are probably some of the more famous ones, also some of the more controversial. After being brutally assaulted by a group of absolutely horrid, disgusting men, Jennifer Hills reverses the roles so that she now becomes the predator to the prey, when it was very much once the other way around. The torture and deaths of the men are very satisfying, especially in the 2010 remake. Once again, we get to watch as someone gets the justice they deserve for themselves, something people don't often get in real life. Obviously, revenge won't take away her pain or erase her trauma, but at least she managed to prevent these men from hurting anyone else. And of course, it's also nice to watch as karma finally catches up to them. I think you can see where this is going. Good for her. Poor girl. Esther. Listen, I know she terrorized a few families, but she did that. You gotta give it to her. She really had everyone fooled. And this movie is as popular as it is for a reason. Yes, she is a terrifying killer, but she had it hidden so well under the guise of a sweet, innocent little girl that you can't help but be impressed. So I think she's gonna go and she scares me, but I like it. Rose the Hat. Before I talk about this character, let me just get ready for some fucking brown nosing. I just want to say, I love this movie so much. Mike Flanagan did such an amazing job making the sequel to one of the best horror movies of all time. He had massive boots to fill, and turns out he has massive feet because he wore those shoes and strutted down the runway. Mike Flanagan also made one of my favourite shows ever, Haunting of Hill House, which I could go on and on and on about, but I won't. Anyway, Rebecca Ferguson was incredible in this role and probably one of my favourite horror movie villains of all time, and for that I'm very tempted to put her in I'd Let Her Kill Me Too. However, when I actually think about what she does to those people, to those kids, I mean, that performance by Jacob Tremblay was heartbreaking. I'm bringing her all the way down to please stay away from me, because she is so powerful and terrifying that there is no way you could ever escape her once she's got her eye on you, and she will make sure you die in the most painful way possible so that she and her freaky little clan can feed on your steam, and there is no hope for you. Unless you're Danny or Abra, of course. Rachel Lang. Okay, I know Rachel is a part of the Carrie franchise, but she isn't actually another version of Carrie. She just has the same powers because she's her half-sister, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to add her separately. However, I do want to add her to the same tier because, oh my god, why was everyone at that school fucking insufferable? As much as I love the Carrie movies, I do wonder if anyone in real life actually goes through the type of bullying that these main characters go through. Maybe that's just me being ignorant because I went to an all-girls school and never once did anyone make fun of somebody if they got their period. In fact, everyone would jump to help. But that scenario doesn't actually happen in this movie. This movie focuses more on rape culture and toxic masculinity and a little sprinkle of homophobia in there because, of course.
Are you homosexual?
A what?
A homosexual.
Also, I love gothic 90s horror movies so much. It is one of my favourite eras in horror. And I know that the general consensus is that this movie was an unnecessary sequel and it was trashy and the effects were bad and whatever. Literally, I love this movie so much. Good for her. Suanne Ellington, or Ma.
Don't make me drink alone. Don't make me drink alone. Don't make me drink alone.
Her backstory is so horrid. Like what those kids did to her, gaining her trust only to trick her into a sexual situation with someone that wasn't who she thought it was as a big joke. That is so terrible, and I can totally see why it made her the unstable person that she is as an adult. However, her actions as an adult are so messed up. Like, I can get behind the whole killing my bullies to get revenge thing, but drugging teenagers to steal from them, pulling a gun on one of those teenage boys and forcing him to strip naked as a joke, making everyone believe her daughter is sick, like a whole Munchausen by proxy situation. What the fuck is going on, Suanne? I'm scared. Please stay away from me. Pearl. Originally, I wanted to put Pearl in the good for her tier for reasons I will explain in a moment. But thinking a little deeper, she never actually got what she wanted. There was never really a true cathartic good for her moment. The true tragedy of Pearl's story is that despite her intense desire to play the beautiful dancing lead in the movie, in the end she is ultimately driven to play the villain.
Let's just say the devil made me do it.
Making do with what she has, just as her mother told her she had to do. And speaking of her mother, she possesses both emotional and physical strength. After her husband grew ill and was unable to do anything for himself, she was forced into both the traditional mother and father roles, performing all the household chores like cooking and cleaning, while also chopping wood and fixing things. She also used to be youthful and aspirational and full of dreams and wearing colourful dresses, as we see when Pearl tries on her mother's old clothing. However, she eventually ends up drained and somewhat spiteful, appearing bleak and beige in every aspect. She did everything society told her she should to achieve the American dream, especially as an immigrant, and she still lost everything. She was left impoverished with a sick, incapacitated husband and a daughter who was unappreciative and terrified of becoming just like her, miserable and devoid of hope or ambition. This movie depicts how difficult it is for a woman, no matter what you do or who you are. You can do all the right things and end up feeling unfortunate, empty, and hardened by life, like Pearl's mother. Or you can be ambitious and opportunistic, like Pearl, and still never be enough. So I understand Pearl's mother and why she is so strict and cold, trying to keep together a family in tense and even dangerous conditions with the sickness that was going around. But I also understand Pearl's side, going back to her. Sorry, this rant is so long. I understand Pearl's so-called ungratefulness. I think sometimes as children we can look to our parents and just feel some kind of resentment or anger, especially when things are tough. It's a feeling of, why did you have me? Why would you choose to bring a child into this world when you already know just how difficult it is to live? And then being told that you should be grateful that they decided to have you at all, while they look down on or even crush your dreams and ambitions because it didn't work out for them, as we see Pearl's mother do in the movie.
But when you fail, and you will fail, I want you to remember what it feels like, because that's how I feel every time I look at you.
She says something along the lines of, you can't always get what you want, you just have to work with what you have. And obviously Pearl is not accepting of that or the life that she has at all, and so she chose to try and do something about that, which involved a lot of blood. Also, Pearl and her mother's relationship reminds me of that one quote, mothers and daughters existing as wretched mirrors of each other. I am all that you could have been, and you were all that I might be. Both Pearl and X show how generational trauma continues, and also failing in life, giving up on your dreams even though you worked really hard for them. I mean, Pearl never did leave that farm. She was born there, she lived there, and she died there. She never got what she wanted, and she went mad because of it. I love Pearl's character because she is so complex. On one hand, you could be disgusted by her violent, murderous actions, and on the other, you could feel great pity and sympathy for her.
I'm exactly what Mama said I was, weak.
The scene where she was rejected at the dance audition is one that cuts deep because she wasn't rejected for her lack of talent, she was rejected because of her looks.
We're looking for something different today. More all-American, younger and blonde.
She was never going to be enough. She never missed her chance because she didn't have one in the first place. Pearl is violent and mentally unstable, sure, but truly, she just wanted to be loved, appreciated, and cherished. And who doesn't? So, I think after all that, sorry, I want to place her in She Scares Me, but I like it. But I think she belongs in her own tier. It's very hard to decide. Amanda Young. Even though I love her character and I feel so bad for her, I want to put her in Please Stay Away From Me, because there is literally no way you can ever reason with her, because as she is recovering from her drug addiction, her addictive personality finds something else to cling on to, in my opinion, which happens to be John Kramer, or Jigsaw, and this, paired with how she views him as a saviour,
Helped me.
makes her love and loyalty to him run so deep that she'll do anything to have all his attention and be his #1 protege. Also, she literally rigged some of the traps so that the victims would never be able to escape, which goes against the whole point of why Jigsaw made them in the first place. And I don't know, that scares me so much, like they were doomed before they even began, so please stay away from me. Justine. I feel like I've said this about every movie so far, but I love this movie so much. I love media centered around cannibalism. Justine's cannibalistic desires coincide with her sexual awakening. It helps her gain confidence and embrace the changes in her body and life, and in a symbolic way it depicts a sort of coming-of-age story of a girl growing from childhood to womanhood. She continuously struggles between her more feral, primal, animalistic side and her more rational human side. Her mother tried to raise her as a vegetarian so she didn't show her true nature, but the problem with doing that is that if you suppress something, sooner or later it will come out in the worst way possible. We also learn that the reason her mother tried so hard to prevent her from eating meat is because she too is a cannibal, and it is passed down through the family in a sort of generational curse. Justine's sister also has these urges and acts on them, and she is actually the one to pressure Justine into eating meat, and that causes a reaction that uncovers her cannibalistic urges. And I think she does this because she felt some type of jealousy at the control that Justine had over her life and wanted to bring her sister down with her, or perhaps just so she felt less alone in what she was going through. As Justine eventually gives into her self-fulfilling prophecy, their bond seems to grow stronger as they have a mutual understanding between them. Contrary to what it may seem, Justine does not stray further from who she is, but rather becomes who she was always destined to be. Anyway, I love the whole feral character to represent some sort of becoming. I'm looking at you, Will Graham. Especially with women as well. So I think I'm going to place Justine in I'd Let Her Kill Me Too. Although She Scares Me But I Like It still applies. Sadako Yamamura and or Samara Morgan. Even though I'm not a massive fan of the Ringu franchise and I prefer the American remakes, please don't kill me, I think Sadako or Samara is one of the greatest horror characters in any form of media, as the sheer impact that creepy ass little girl crawling out of the well had on so many people was astronomical. Think about how many horror films, horror games, creepy stories, whatever, include a girl in a long white dress with hair covering her face. It became one of the most iconic scary figures ever, and Sadako or Samara's story is a really tragic one. Her psychic powers and abilities made her feared and bullied, and she became an outcast who was eventually murdered and thrown into a well in an attempt to stop her powers from spiraling out of control. Nevertheless, her ultimate desire as a vengeful ghost is to inflict as much pain and suffering as she can onto as many people by spreading her curse.
You don't want to hurt anyone.
But I do, and I'm sorry. It won't stop.
And there is literally no way of getting out of it other than copying the tape and showing it to someone else, but figuring that out in 7 days, if you aren't already looking for a solution, is near impossible.
What have I got myself into? I'm fucking shitting myself.
So yes, she scares the shit out of me. Please stay away from me. But actually, what kind of ghost specifically goes out of their way to put some stupid creepy video on a VHS tape? Like, out of all things, you chose that. Oh wait, before I go to the other side, let me quickly... 7 days, bitch. She got bullied and now she needs to make a curse with potentially apocalyptic consequences? No, that's about to piss me off. I'm putting her in was there any need. Mary Mason. I love Catherine Isabel so much. What an icon, a true scream queen. She was also in one of my favourite TV shows ever, which I've already mentioned, NBC's Hannibal. And once again, this is a revenge movie, because of course. After Mary is invited to a party by a former teacher and mentor of hers, he drugs and assaults her. Then she hires some people to kidnap him so she can hold him captive and perform involuntary body modifications on him, and some real serious shit too, like splitting his tongue, amputating his limbs, suturing his mouth shut, and modifying his peen. She unconsensually, is unconsensual a word or is it non-consensual? I don't know. Mutilates and desecrates his body just as he did to her, keeping him alive for him to feel her full wrath and face the unexpected consequences of his actions. Mary eventually drops out of medical school and devotes herself to voluntary body modification through, like, underground black market and stuff like that, as it is a business that pays well, and she was a poor medical student. I don't think I have to explain myself much here. I have already made my stance on these kind of movies clear. She did nothing wrong. Good for her. And I would have put her in I'd Let Her Kill Me Too, but her whole thing wasn't actually about killing people, it was body modification. She only kills someone to protect herself, and I don't really feel like being turned into Betty Boop. So I'll stick with good for her. Kayako Saiki. Kayako was a housewife who fell in love with another man. Her husband found out, he brutally murdered Kayako, their son, and their pet cat in a jealous rage. The movie tells us in the beginning, when someone dies in the grip of a powerful rage, a curse is born. The curse gathers in that place of death. Those who encounter it will be consumed by its fury. Essentially, when someone is violently murdered and suffers a lot of emotional pain, their spirit becomes part of the home that they died in, and anyone that enters that home will be infected by the spirit's undying rage. And this curse is contagious, fast-acting, and literally impossible to break free of. Kayako and her son's death created the Juwon, or the resentment curse, or the grudge. You see now? Because it's like a grudge. You get the grudge. Anyway, there is literally no escaping this curse once you step foot into the Saiki's house, and your death will be filled with torment and emotional agony, and I am peeing in my undies.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff! The entire house is dark-sided.
So please stay away from me. Jennifer Czech. Jennifer's body is, in my opinion, so harshly criticised, unfairly so. I think the movie depicts double standards brilliantly. Of course, the innocent boys who were killed and eaten by Jennifer didn't deserve their fate, and the entire town mourned them with good reason. But Jennifer was also a victim. She was also brutally murdered, sacrificed, and I just think it's interesting how so many of the negative reviews of this movie put all the blame on Jennifer because she made the decision to follow the band into the van instead of listening to her friend, Needy. However, they don't ever seem to put the same blame on the boys who also made the decision to leave with Jennifer to the woods to a creepy abandoned house. It always seems to be Jennifer's fault. Does that sentiment sound familiar in any way? No? is this thing on? Once again, neither the boys nor Jennifer deserved what happened to them, but I think it's quite indicative that Jennifer is viewed with much harsher judgment than they are. Food for thought. Anyway, I love this movie so much. It cleverly explores trauma, victim blaming, sexuality, and the terrors of being a teenage girl, all in a fun 2000s horror comedy. Her demise was an allegory for sexual assault, and what follows is how she deals with that trauma. The way I see it, Jennifer killing and eating those boys was her way of taking back power and bringing the same sense of hopelessness and powerlessness and fear to them as she felt with the men who killed her.
I need you frightened.
I need you hopeless.
With all that being said, Megan Fox is so gorgeous in this movie that I am tempted to put her in I'd Let Her Kill Me Too, but that does not take away from the importance of the social commentary in this movie. Okay, so let's move on. Lola Stone. I don't have much to say about Miss Lola Stone except was there any need? Like, honestly, what the fuck was that all about? What was that weird incestuous relationship with her dad about? What was her obsession with keeping zombified, brain-scrambled boys under the floorboards? What was the need? What is going on? Is anyone out there? Can anyone hear me?
Somebody help me! Somebody help me!
I do really like this film though. Yeah, she is going in Was There Any Need tier, but I don't have much else to say. I think if you've watched this movie, you know it's just a short, fun watch. Great for the whole family. Elaine Parks. And finally, we have Elaine Parks from The Love Witch. She talks to another woman in the film about how men want a woman who is subservient, submissive, quiet and coy, but sexy and alluring, who looks perfectly gorgeous at all times and will cook and clean for them and give them sex whenever they want and wait on hand and foot for them, and who is the perfect vessel for them to project and mould all their fantasies onto. And she talks about how important it is to play that part.
Giving men sex is a way of unlocking their love potential. You have to give a man his fantasy.
His fantasy? You sound as if you've been brainwashed by the patriarchy.
But this idea of a perfect woman has no regard for her desires or autonomy, and I think she knows that but decides to put that aside and instead bases her self-worth on how much these men are attracted to her and love her.
Her whole self-worth is wrapped up in pleasing a man.
She becomes the object of desire for any man that she wants, luring them in with her magic and making sure they stay by giving them a love potion. However, we see as these men become overwhelmed with the sheer love and emotion they feel for her, and they eventually die because of it. She loved them to death. Shout out to Typo Negative. And when these men start to become inconsolable, she is turned off by them, turned off by the fact that they couldn't handle their emotions.
You love me, don't you?
Of course I love you.
Oh God. What did I aim?
And I believe that this is also a comment on how toxic masculinity and men's inability to feel and or confront their emotions ultimately killed them.
Never felt real love like this before. I'm scared. I'm not used to feeling things so strongly. I can't take it. I can't take it. Oh, I'm sick. I'm sick.
Elaine has a monologue in this movie while a man is sobbing in the background. She talks resentfully about how she never had anyone to love and console her as she was doing for this man.
What a pussy. What a baby. I thought I'd found a real man, but he's just like a little girl. No one was ever there for me when I was crying my heart out. No one ever comforted me. No one.
It's mentioned in the beginning that her ex-husband abused her and she never got the help or comfort that she needed or wanted, and I think this turned her cold and callous with no regard for how her actions may affect others. And so when these men that she had under her influence died of heartbreak, she couldn't even fathom that idea because she had already endured such a thing and came out the other side a little more hardened and calloused. She never expected them to die because she just assumed that they could have handled it as she did, and when they can't, she feels no empathy or sympathy for them. And ultimately, the entire situation is rather ironic because the roles are reversed in the stereotypical view of men and women, with the man being incredibly emotional to the point of inconsolability, that old cliche of the hysterical woman, and Elaine displaying behaviours we typically attribute to men: cold, harsh, callous, indifference. And although she is killing these men in her journey to find her one true love, I do feel bad for her. She's an abuse survivor, and now she just wants someone to love her, but every man she has encountered has not entirely loved a woman for who she is, and is always wrapped up in a fantasy of unachievable desires. So she became kind of broken down, now willing to put on an elaborate performance to achieve that, with the help of some magic, of course. But it's the sheer desperation that really gets to me. I don't know. Also, I just love the stunning 60s Technicolor visuals in this movie. It's gorgeous. I think I will put Elaine in She Scares Me, but I Like It. I hope Elaine finds true love one day without having to drug them or kill anyone else. Mwah! I see you, girl. I think that's it. I'd love to hear in the comments if and why you guys agree or disagree with where I've placed everyone. And remember, this has all just been my opinion and my interpretation of things, so please do not slaughter me in the comments. And I'm sure I've missed some great characters, so maybe I'll do a part 2 one day. Thanks for watching. See you when I see you. Goodbye.